Hi, I'm David. This is Honey. It's just a little Jeep with some lethargic lights. We bought some new headlights with halos and neat extra features that don't usually come on this Jeep. So we're going to see how they go together and see what it looks like when we're all done. I'll also be showing you where to grab power for each of the circuits that are going to be added in. For right now, we're going to gain access to some of the parts behind the scenes, like the turn signals. You'll pull this little red tab out and lift this little lever up, and that'll release the plug from the turn signals. I'm just going to tuck them in behind there as I move on to pulling these clips. I am using a dull screwdriver as a tool that won't scratch the paint as easily. And once you get all of those out, give this a good tug because it's just these little pushing clips. It doesn't hurt them, just pops right out. And now you have your grill. I'm just going to pull the headlight off to see what's behind it. When you pop this ring, make sure that you know that the bottom is the one where it's like stuck together. There's a little red clip, you pop that back, and then you can just simply unplug it. I got this kit, comes with instructions. Guess we'll use those maybe later. And here's a headlight. It has a anti-flicker box and an adapter to adapt to the Jeep. We'll go ahead and see how that fits the Jeep. Seems to plug into that. Cool. So we'll grab the rest of it and continue on. Now I'll take this enormous string of stuff and shove it up in there. We're going to see if this works. DOT should be on the top. So put that in there, and then the little clips and tabs will all line up. It'll kind of like feel like it registers in there. And for this part, I'm just going to put in a couple of screws. These are a Torx bit. I think T15, T30, I don't know. Not 30. It doesn't work. Well, after figuring out the first one, I'll show you what the first one was doing. It was just not staying in and plugged, so I threw a zip tie around it. And I went from one side of the first plug to the other side of the second plug, and it just kind of like triangulates across it. If you need to unplug it, you can just kind of like pull it off to the side and it'll pop off. See, that's the second side, and it stays nice and engaged. So we're just going to plug the yellow wire to the yellow wire, the white wire to the white wire, and then these little rubber boots kind of like go over each other, and that is honestly the biggest pain because they don't really want to go over each other. I eventually got it though, using a little spit, blood and tears. Mostly spit though. And this process is the same on either side. I happen to be flipping back and forth for convenience of filming. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull these wires up through this area behind the headlight aiming device, and then ram the rest of this stuff in there with the DOT at the top. There we go. And put the screws back in it. Then I have the turn signal plug, and I've got the turn signal on, and I've got the clearance lights on. I'm just kind of sounding out which one's which. That looks like turn signal. That looks like clearance. I'm just going to ram the wire in there. I'm way away from the ground, so don't worry about that. And then I'll flip off the turn signal and see if the halo comes on, and it does. And these are little plastic things to access the fog light, and I can't seem to get this with a screwdriver or a pry tool. So I guess it's a drill. And it went ahead and caught it and pulled it right out, so we're good there. got both sides done. And this is a little bit tricky. You kind of have to pull it up through here and twist it, get a grip on it, and then yank it out. And down inside you'll see 4 screws. Actually, you probably won't see 4 screws. You'll feel 4 screws though. You'll wiggle your screwdriver around in the middle of the night here until you find the head of one and pull it out. You repeat this thing 4 times and you'll have yourself a fog light. This one looked like it was damaged, so I guess it's good for replacing it. So you just take your finger and you just push down on this back part and it'll release the bulb from the harness. I've got my ground in the black, I've got my red in the white to make sure I know which one's what. And I just pull the plug on this one and pull this light out. Way easier on this side. Actually, it wasn't. It was harder because that little condenser thing was there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull all of this stuff back so that I can get to the wires that I need to get to. This actually requires cutting the harness. I'm not going to cut it there. I'm going to cut it a little further back just in case this harness needs to go back in for any reason. And there's still plenty of wire to attach the new pigtail to. The new pigtail comes with about 6 inches of wire, so it is plenty. So I'm just going to attach the black to the black and the red to the white. Ooh, satisfying. And then this thing lines up with some studs down in there. That's how you know which way's up. Hey, look, I'm looking at me, looking at me. And then this just plugs in only one way, just like that. And then these pair of wires can go behind the radiator and eventually wiggle their way down into that area. And of course, I'm just trying to get this wiring in here and make it work. At some point in time in the very, very near future, I will be putting loom around all of these wires, taping them off properly, and making sure that the job is going to last a lifetime of the truck. And we'll pull all of this factory wire management off to expose the wires that we need to expose for the left turn signal and the clearance lights. And it looks like we got a left turn signal. And it's this wire. So I'll loop this around this wire. And then I'll know which one to cut once I get back after turning the power off. And another cut far enough away from the plug to where you can, you know, go the other way if you need to. And I make sure I got my loop of wire and then give myself just a few inches extra. I always cut one wire at a time. Even if it's not hooked to anything, you don't ever want to cut 2 wires at the same time. Don't ask how I know. Alright, now we're going to integrate the halos into the running light circuit. Just make sure that goes all the way in past your crimp, otherwise it's going to get wasted. You don't have to do it again. Right there. And I'll put these things I drilled out back in. They actually pushed right back in pretty easily. And we'll keep that thing secured until I do my wire protection routine. My client's my future wife, so I guess we'll see if she'll still marry me after I do all this to her Jeep. So I snap that back into place and put all these little clippy things back in, push those back into their little snappy holes. So here's what we had before. Some lethargic looking lights. I don't know if the lights are on, if you can even tell I'm turn signaling. And now this is what we have after we've done the install. Nice bright, very defined turn signals. Dude, the music, that is way too loud. This is a Jeep lighting thing, not a movie. Okay, much better, much better. Of course the headlights are off, so let's just see what happens when you turn those on. Oh, the halos are on, I guess clearance lights are on. And I like how they just kind of like come back on in sequence, that's kind of neat. Now the headlights and turn signals, let's see what that looks like. Oh, fog lights. How about some, yep. I'm pretty sure you'll see that. Pretty spicy. Well, if you enjoyed the video, like it. I don't know if I'll be putting a lot more Jeep stuff on here, but since I'm married to somebody that has a Jeep, chances are pretty high.